Hello, everyone, and welcome to Power Talks with the Talk Doctor featuring Ask the Talk Doctor Live. I'm your host, Dr. Dacia P. Hastings, and I welcome you to today's broadcast. And I always like to say, it is Friday. It's always such an amazing thing to hear myself say it is Friday because we're at this space where we can just exhale and breathe. And this is Power Talks with the Talk Doctor featuring Ask the Talk Doctor Live. Now, if you're joining us for the first time, we would love to have you check in. So write a comment in the comment box if you're on YouTube or Instagram and tell us where you're joining us from. You know, Power Talks with the Talk Doctor featuring Ask the Talk Doctor Live is a bi-weekly show where you can just come and be in the moment. And thank you so much for gifting yourself this time. We know that there are a ton of things that you can be doing with this time, but to be able to gift yourself with just a few moments, an opportunity to just exhale and soak up some information that can be valuable to your life is exceptional. So thank you so much for being here. Now, Power Talks with the Talk Doctor is divided into two segments. We first do a Power Talks, and then the second segment is where you get to ask the Talk Doctor live. And this is where you're able to send us your questions to askthetalkdrlive@gmail.com. And we pick some questions that we air on the show, or you can just ask them right here during the Ask the Talk Doctor live segment. And we have a very wonderful show prepared for you today. We're actually in season 2 of our broadcast, and episode 4, today's theme is, Do You See What I See? A very interesting topic, and I am just so intrigued and so pleased to be able to talk with you about this topic today. You see, this topic is near and dear to my heart, and not just from a professional standpoint, but also from a personal perspective. But before I tell you why, do you remember ever having trouble seeing the chalkboard in school as a child? I mean, were you the one who ran to the front of the classroom because you didn't want to miss anything on the board? I remember being that kid, but not for visual reasons, just because of my nerd issues. I always wanted to be at the front of the class, as I digress. But anyway, maybe you struggled with seeing, the words on a page or the words on a book, and things just didn't always seem to make sense. Do you remember getting glasses, but all they did was hurt your eyes and you still had trouble seeing or even comprehending what was in front of you? Do you feel like someone who just kind of always feeling like somebody turned the lights down in the back of your eyes and it's so hard to see things because everything seems like there's just low light? Or maybe you're having these issues now because you're a kid in school or you're an adult and you can remember some of these struggles that you might have had as a child. Well, be that as it may, it seems like visual issues at times may be hindering your progress, whether in school or in the workplace. You see, others might think of you that, what's going on with this person? Why do they always have a hard time understanding things or struggling? Or you might even think of yourself as, maybe I'm just not that bright. If this sounds like you're not alone. And it could very well have nothing to do with your intellectual abilities. You see, according to the Centers for Disease Control, vision disabilities is one of the top 10 disabilities among adults 18 years and older, and also the most prevalent disabling condition among children. Now, I don't know about you, but that certainly makes me stand up and take notice. Now, certainly, it's not hard to detect when somebody has a disability that is something that you can clearly see. You know, you can easily detect it with the naked eye. But did you know that there is such a thing called an invisible disability, or also disabilities that are hidden? A lot of times, people with hidden disabilities look perfectly normal to you and I. In fact, you can't really see what's happening with them with the naked eye. And so oftentimes, you just kind of pass judgment or question, why is that person behaving that way? Why is that person having such a difficulty when they look perfectly normal? Let me tell you a little story. Recently, I learned that my 10-year-old daughter, a very creative, astute, and bright child who's also an honor roll student, has what's called a conversion insufficiency disorder. Now, it didn't just start there. It was a huge relief, however, for me to find out that this is what she had, because after a very long struggle, of trying to figure out what was going on with this very bright child who at times would start reading one line on a page and then all of a sudden she's down 3 lines. And to her, she was reading quite normal, but her comprehension just wasn't matching up with what she was reading because naturally she was skipping lines. Or she would sometimes, at about 7 or 8, reverse her P's for her Q's and her B's for her D's. Now, as a professional in the field myself, I thought to myself, sometimes it takes some children a little bit longer to really get these types of letters. But I realized that it wasn't just that, and it was more distinct and more profound things that were happening with her. But being the bright child she was, she really worked hard and continued to excel. But my, what a struggle it was for her. Until we took her to the eye doctor to get an eye exam, and the eye exam came back okay, but the doctor said, you know what, let's try some glasses. So for about a year we tried, and off and on she would wear them, and they didn't really help. And then she turned 9, and we tried again because something just wasn't clicking. Her comprehension, skipping of words, changing words around. So after some research and some time, I thought to myself, well, maybe I need to go get her tested for a learning disability. And that's the research I started doing. Let me find a professional who can support her and help her in this regard. And then we took her back to the eye doctor again for one last eye exam because, of course, once you start them on glasses, they have to have annual eye exams. But I knew that wasn't going to help because she didn't want to wear the glasses. She said they didn't help. So in talking to the optometrist at the last eye exam, I said to her, I really can't pinpoint what's going on with this child, but I gotta tell you, I think it's something more than just her eyes. I truly think that she has a processing issue. And she immediately looked at me and said, I think you're right. She pulled out this pad and told me, I know a specialist. There's a place where she can go get tested, and